I just don't get it. Oh, well. I'll use my other computer for that.
It is 6, so we are live. Looks like we're just waiting on some more board members.
Thank you.
I'm stable here.
Thank you, Haim. How are you?
Very good.
Haim, you're the phone number ending in 26, correct?
Ending in 6-7.
67, got it. Thank you. John, is Kristen coming tonight?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Hold on, I gotta mute my one machine. Do we need it?
It's usually helpful, yes. And we do have 6 members if Mr. Renner would like to start without Mr. Herzl. I know he does have 2 weddings tonight.
Yeah, why don't we get started? Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order, and why don't we raise the flag now that John is not upside down. It's not upside down.
All right, I got the flag.
Until with the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Allie, would you read the certification of compliance, please?
The time, date, and location of this meeting was published in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger and posted on the bulletin board in the office of the Township of Lakewood at least 48 hours in advance. The public has the right to attend this meeting, and reasonable comprehensive minutes of this meeting will be available for public inspection. This meeting meets the criteria of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Garfield.
Yes.
Mr. Stern.
Here.
Mr. Sable.
Here.
Mr. Flansbaum.
Here.
Mr. Herzl. Mr. Renner.
Here.
Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Meyer. I saw him here.
Here.
Thank you. And Mr. Isaacson. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Raitzik. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, will you swear in Harry, please?
Mr. Vogt, do you swear affirm testimony we give before the board be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on with the agenda. And we have the public hearing items.
Yes, I do have one change to the agenda. The last item on the agenda is SP 2419 for Benos Devora. They requested to carry to a future meeting date. They're still speaking with some of the neighbors. I would recommend that we make an announcement to carry this to the June 8th public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Let me go through and mute some people. Hold on.
Should I get your pants?
Okay, I think we're better.
Okay, so Mr. Jackson, could we please announce the postponement of SP 2423,
No, SP 2419.
2419? Oh, sorry, okay, I must have an old agenda. Sorry. He's muted.
Ally, you had muted me. What was the date that's on for?
Yes, haven't you seen my email saying that when you're not speaking, you're going to be muted? So you need to know to unmute. June 8th, next week, please.
Members of the public, be advised, number 4 on tonight's calendar, that is 2419 Buenos de Bora, has been adjourned and will be heard on June 8th, 2021, 6 o'clock. In this virtual format, there will be no further notices.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I'm ready to start with number 1 if you're ready, Chairman.
Sure.
Okay, this is SD 2470 for Joseph Bitten. It's a major subdivision to create 6 lots on 8th Street.
Okay, thank you. And who are the professionals on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to summarize the relief, Chairman, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right, I'm reading from the May 20th review that Ally just put up on the shared screen. Going to be starting on page 3 under submission waivers. We have them listed, including traffic study, topo contours, and man-made features within 200 feet, EIS and architectural drawings. We can support the waivers for hearing purposes for reasons stipulated in the letter.
Is there a motion to go along with the engineer's recommendation?
I'll move it, Justin.
Second?
Second.
Okay, and we're all in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll continue under zoning, section 2. Variances are required for several lots as identified for minimum lot area, as well as a rear yard setback variance necessary for proposed lot 10.05 and the rear yard setback variance for proposed lot 10.06. That's all the relief, Chairman.
Thank you. And who do we have representing the applicant here?
Good evening, Joseph Kashuba, KBA Engineering Services, Manasquan, New Jersey. I'm here for Mr. Bitten. Mr. Bitten is also here on the Zoom meeting as well.
And Mr. Jackson, could you please swear in?
Yes, Mr. Kashuba, I think you're going to have to speak up a little, first of all, or get closer to your microphone. But do you swear or affirm testimony to give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, you recognize Mr. Kashuba as an expert in the field of engineering and planning based on his numerous appearances before this board?
Yes, we recognize him. Mr. Kashuba, would you like to go through this report and summarize the application and discuss the variance relief requested?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the application is proposing to subdivide an existing parcel into 6 lots, which will maintain 3 duplex structures. We are proposing sidewalk, 4 parking stalls per unit. The lot is 30,020 square feet. So as far as density and lot area, we have enough area to create 6 units. But what we are requesting as far as relief is the 2, I'll call them more rectangular sets of duplexes on the west side of the property. Instead of 10,000 square feet, we're providing 9,900 square feet and taking that little bit of extra area and giving it to the last 2 units on the east side of the property, simply due to the unique shape of the lot. As you can see on the plan before you, the property is not a rectangle. It's has a substantial angle at the end of the property due to the railroad. So it makes development of that last lot, specifically the furthest lot to the east, more difficult to properly improve. Again, we do have an average of 10,000 square feet per unit. We're just providing the extra area in those last 2 units. That's 10,220 square feet. The rear yard setback, in addition, is due to that unique nature of the property. Terry's office indicates that the eastern property line on here, adjacent to the railroad, is considered a rear yard rather than a side as we have it designed and requires relief. The angle there is pretty unusual. It's greater than 45 degrees. It acts more as a side yard to this property than it does a rear yard. So we've designed it to have a 7-foot setback, which would comply with the side yard requirement. However, due to the technicality of the layout, we require relief. That relief can be granted under the C1 and C2 criteria. Obviously, this is a very uniquely shaped piece of property, and relief there is necessitated due to a hardship. There was a question regarding connection to an existing drainage pipe on the property to the west. Property to the west is a park. It's owned by the township. There's a drainage pipe that flows through that property to the north up to 8th Street. We think the pipe is not located in an easement, but it's on public property. It's on Lakewood Township property. So we feel we can connect to that and provide our drainage to that location. That's how the entire area is currently drained. We are providing street trees as is required by the ordinance. There's no other landscaping proposed. Again, we are providing sidewalks, providing adequate parking. We are providing the layout of the units here, and the relief being requested, as indicated, can be granted in the C1 criteria due to the shape of the property.
And what's on this block across the street from this and further down on the same side?
So immediately across the street is other duplex units. And immediately east of here, west of here is a park owned by the township.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the board members on this application? I just wanted to ask, there's going to be 4 parking spots per unit, correct?
Correct.
Off-street.
Off-street parking, yep.
Any questions from any board members on this application? Okay. I'll take that as none for right now. But let's see, is there any public comment on this?
Hello?
I do have 2 emails and there's a couple caller ins. Let me see who I can unmute.
Yes, please.
Who's speaking now?
Neighbor Ari Loiser.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yes,
Mr. Jackson will affirm you in. You'll state your name and address for the record, and then you can go on and make your comment.
Yes, Mr.
Ari
Meisel, do you swear to
Loiser.
affirm the testimony you give before this board be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I'm sorry? Yes. Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. I
Ari
don't see you though. Do you have your camera on?
I'm on phone. I'm not on Zoom.
Okay, please proceed.
Yes, name is Ari Loiser. I live directly across from the proposed lot, 45 Street, over 20 years now. Our block is a very unique, very long block, and we're very happy here for many years. Mind the new neighbors coming in, we have one safety issue. Almost every block in Lakewood, and this that's a dead end, has a large cul-de-sac to be able for emergency vehicles and all kinds of vehicles to have a turnaround. We don't have that. It goes directly into the railroad area. So we had 2 fires, including this Mr. Greenwald's fire and a previous fire, which was very dangerous and scary. There was no place for the emergency vehicles to come in and be able to turn around and be there safely. And we would really like to ask the board to please make sure that the planning should include a cul-de-sac, a turnaround area to make it safe for all of us, the previous existing people living here and the new people that are going to be coming in also. It should be safe for all of us. Besides, we're also losing a lot of parking over there that might help also for the parking area there. But the main issue is the safety for all of us, that emergency vehicles and all kinds of vehicles should be able to turn around there. They're having at least another 12 people moving in here. We had another 2 duplexes put up a year or 2 ago at the left-hand corner, the northeast corner, which also, it made it more congested over there. So we please would like to ask for the board to make sure to include a necessity of putting a roundabout or cul-de-sac there to be able to make it wider on all sides for emergency vehicles to be able to come in and turn around there.
Ms. Morris, did this plan go to the fire commissioner for comment?
I can't say for sure. The applicant is supposed to mail those directly to the fire commissioner, and I have not seen a review by them.
We also have a special needs child that had to move off the block because their bus wasn't able to turn around here. They had to, they had to sell their house and buy a different house because of this reason.
Mr. Kachuba, do you know if the plans were sent in to the fire commissioner?
I'm sorry, I missed that question.
Do you know if the plans were sent in for comment to the fire department?
We would typically do that during residence compliance. I don't know that we sent a direct submission to the fire company. Yeah, I don't see that we submitted anything direct to the fire company at this point.
Excuse me, Chairman.
The dead end condition is pre-existing. This lot was previously fully developed, was utilized as a catering facility. And the townhouses across the street, the duplexes across the street have been there for some time with that condition. And in fact, a new duplex, a fairly new duplex was constructed behind and to the northeast of those units more recently. But I don't have, I've not submitted to the fire company for approval at this point.
And the ambulance, hot solar ambulance can't turn around there either for every emergency vehicle, not only fire.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Chairman, this is Terry.
Go on, yes.
Yeah, if the board wants to act favorably, I would ask for the fire commissioner's approval as an outside agency approval. Looking at the plans, Joe, I'm not sure if there's room to put an RSIS compliant cul-de-sac in. Do you have any opinion on that?
Correct. There is not sufficient room here to put an RSIS compliant cul-de-sac.
Okay. So the next question would be, is there room perhaps to put in a turnaround? And I'm looking at the corner of the easterly most duplex unit, the trapezoid shape. It looks like you've got room there in the corner to possibly put in a turnaround.
So I would have to review that with the applicant. One item I would indicate is in the existing condition. Currently, there's a very large driveway at the northeast corner of this eastern end of 8th Street, very similar with the dead end of 9th Street, that provides for a turnaround currently.
Right, very nice one, in fact.
So that is there today.
Where is there a turnaround currently provided?
East 9th Street has a very nice turnaround for cul-de-sac, though large turnaround to be able to be very safe. But East 8th doesn't have anything.
So on the dead end of 9th Street on private property, I believe it might be owned by the township. There is a cul-de-sac, but it's the size of the right-of-way. It doesn't expand beyond the right-of-way. It's not an RSIS compliant cul-de-sac. They expanded the pavement maybe 8 feet on either side just to give some kind of a bulb at the end. But it is not RSIS compliant.
Okay, let's move on with the public comment, Ally.
Mr. Chairman? Chairman, it's Chaim Sable speaking. Terry, are they legally required to provide a bulb for this particular property, not in general. We don't have to fix the whole neighborhood for them, for other neighbors. For this property, are they legally required to provide a turnaround?
I don't know if they're strictly required, Heim. What I'm hearing, and I have not been out on this property, I've not seen this terminus personally. I would like to see some form of a turnaround. And again, there's a difference between an RSIS compliant cul-de-sac. A cul-de-sac, according to the state design regs, has to have a minimum radius of 40 feet, which locks you into a very large bulb. I don't think you have room here. And I think Mr. Kashuba agrees with me. Assuming that's not feasible or that's not practicable, I would like to explore the possibility of some form of turnaround with input, including but not limited to the fire official, the traffic safety, public works, something sufficient that when this area is built out, that you're going to have an adequate turnaround. And I don't know what that looks like right now.
And the question is, if legally, are they requesting a variant or a design waiver for this, or they don't have to provide that and we can't request that?
In my opinion, on the RSIS, we're not required to, as the public improvements already exist.
Yeah, I don't believe it's a legal requirement. I think doing something to make the plan work better and to make the neighborhood work better if this is approved and built. That's what I'm looking at personally.
Perhaps what might be helpful is if Ally could put the aerial up, so you could see what's out there today and how it operates in the current conditions.
I don't think you sent me an aerial. Did you send me one?
We did not prepare a separate aerial. I didn't know if you pull up. I know in the past you pulled up Google Maps.
Oh, okay, hold on.
And the only way we can require them to do this is because of a design waiver or a lot variance, correct?
Well, they are seeking variance relief, so the board has latitude under the benefit detriment. If you want to see something done out here, I think you have some latitude. I'll defer to John in terms of exactly what that is. Like I said, I'm not looking to hold them to RSIS. I don't think that RSIS works here. I would like to see something personally. I think a turnaround in some form is a reasonable request.
Very good.
Terry, just to follow up on what you said, you're 100% right. I mean, when an applicant seeks variances, the board does not have to grant the approval. And that has to do with the benefits and the detriments. And if you think not meeting the parking requirement is a detriment, then they haven't met their burden of proof and you can deny the application. Or you could ask them for accommodations, or you could ask for less lots. But when there's an application with variances, unless it satisfies you that there's a hardship, or that the benefits substantially outweigh the detriments under C2, and if there is a hardship under C1, then you have to be satisfied that the relief doesn't substantially impair the intent of the master plan. There's a whole checklist that you go through. So yes, as Mr. Vogt said, if there's variances, you have the discretion to not approve the application.
And to clarify, my testimony is that we are providing the variances for lot area are de minimis. They're 100 square feet on 2 of the duplex lots to provide a little bit of area for the last lot, provide a better unit there, more powerful.
Okay. But, I think for the testimony, let's move on. Could we zoom in on this street over here, alley? Okay, so that's currently what you have, Mr. Sable.
So that's current. Well, you see unit 61 there, 61 East 8th Street is under construction at the time. That is now constructed. You see that large dirt area is all driveway now, allowing for a K-turn area.
No, it's private property.
That's a private property.
That's a private property.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to be heard?
Yeah, let me unmute a bunch of people. I believe you'll get a prompt nope, the girl just automatically unmuted. I apologize for the way this has to be done. If you're interested in speaking and have not yet spoken, please say your name.
Hello.
Yes.
Please identify yourself.
Yeah, okay. My name is Binyamin Hershkowitz.
Mr. I don't see you on video. Do you have a camera on?
No, I'm just on the phone.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your address.
49 East 8th Street.
In Lakewood?
Yes, I actually manage the property on 49 East 8th Street, and really my concerns are basically the same as Mr. Leiser said.
Excuse me one second, sir. Everyone else to please mute your microphones while Mr. Hershkowitz is speaking.
I have to go back through and mute everyone and then.
Well, so far it's okay. If everyone can just cooperate, it will be all right. But you know better, Ally.
I don't know on the phone if they know the shortcuts to mute themselves.
All right, so let's just see how it goes then. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hershkowitz, please continue.
Mr. Hershkowitz, please go on.
Yeah, so just in short, really, my concerns are the same as Mr. Leiser's, that mainly the safety of the block. There's no turnaround over there, and the fire actually happened with the house that I manage, the first fire, and the fire department has a very difficult time going down there. So I would like to request that there should be some safety measure put in with the turnaround.
Thank you. Yeah, let's continue. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard?
I have to unmute them. I'm unmuting phone number ending in 53 and ending in 30. Do either of you want to speak on this application? I'm going to take that as a no on phone numbers ending in 30 and 53. I'm going to remute those two. And I'm unmuting phone numbers ending in 70 and 67. Do either of you want to speak on this application? Chairman, I'll take that as a no, that phone number ending in 70 and also 67 do not want to speak on this application. I'm going to remute those. Let me just double check. I believe that's it on the call-in users. Do we have anyone else? Yeah, that's it on the call-in users.
I do have a write-in. I'll read the write-in.
Okay, John, we have two write-ins, but one of them I believe is a duplicate, is the man who already spoke, Mr.
Well, if he already
Leiser.
spoke, he doesn't get to write in and speak.
Yes,
So,
I have them pulled up on the screen. If you'll give me just a moment, I'll share my screen. This is Mr. Leiser, who I believe we spoke with already. I'm going to pass by his and go to Mr. Zinus's email. He says, I wholeheartedly agree with Terry that this application needs a turnaround at the end of 8th Street. If the turnaround is only 80 feet in diameter, we will also need no parking signs to ensure that buses will be able to turn around without getting stuck between parked cars. If the turnaround is only 80 feet, I urge the board to condition the approval on requiring the applicant to request that the township install no parking signs around the turnaround.
Hello?
Yes, who's speaking?
Yeah, I've been waiting for a while. 901-0717. You didn't call on me for the...
I'm sorry, I did not see your phone number when I was unmuting people. Can we have your name for the record?
Yeah, sure. Yaakov Elazari, 31 East 8th Street, Lakewood, New Jersey, 08701.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, could you please affirm in, Mr. Alazari?
do you swear firm testimony to give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And sir, you haven't previously written in, right?
I'm sorry?
You have not written a letter in. You're just speaking for the first time.
No, I'm sorry, and I'm not on Zoom. I don't have internet in my house. I'm very sorry. I'll try to be clear. I want to add on something a little bit more. When in the end of 2014, when they put those two plexes in the backyard on the other side, there was a lot of people came out. We hired a lawyer at that time. It went through 2015, and it finally passed through on August 2016, practically in the middle of the night, without letters being people's houses. They were delivered. We had proof that it was sent to Jackson, and it went through. But I was a little bit involved then, and I have two letters here that were addressed to the planning board administrator. One from the Lakewood Fire District, which was entered on December 11th, 2014, showing access to the property can only be made from East A Street. It is extremely narrow with car parking on both sides. Access by fire apparatus is comprised. There's only one room for one engine to enter the block. It goes down, the lot does not allow access by any of the department's aerial equipment. As we saw by the fire, as by Greenwall, they had to come the other side, and also by the park area. I also have a letter from Remington Burnick Engineers on November 12, 2014. These were received from our lawyer then, and it shows on page 3, this also went to the Township Planning Board, to Allie Morris, and review comments. There is insufficient turnaround access for the township and emergency vehicles that were required to serve the proposed lots. Since East A Street has a 29.5-foot width and 60-foot ROW, there appears to be room to install a turnaround as permitted per RSIS standards. Approval of turnaround and site access will also be subject to township and DPU approval. As we know, nothing happened to that effect on the other side of the block. You saw in those pictures, they have a big parking space there, and there was no turnaround made then in the dead of night. Now there's still a chance to correct it to some extent on the other side of the street, to have a turnaround, that the garbage trucks don't have to back up into it, that God forbid, if there's a fire at the end of the block on the left side in those town duplexes that are hidden, that maybe some fire apparatus will get there properly in time. Otherwise, we might have to have Keystone cops and bring them down on the railroad. And when Mr. Hershkowitz said that there was a fire in his apartment, it was a small fire, thank God. I think it was a dry vent fire, but they had a very hard time, the fire engines, to come down. Very hard time. And, the fire department liaison was there, and he saw it also. It's very important that there be some type of cul-de-sac put there for the safety of the people. And it's hopefully something can be done. I know everything is remote now, and it's hard to see. I have these papers in front of me, but the township have it also. Like the dates I said, December 11, 2014, and November 12, 2014 from Remington and Vernick. That was signed by Terrence Voigt. The only reason that, again, that last one went through, it was pushed off, till people, forgot about it, till the person who had the special needs child just moved out of the way.
Sir, let me ask you a question. This is Sean Jackson, the board attorney.
How you doing?
I don't have any institutional recollection. If I understand what you're saying, there was a previous application across the street from this wherein there were review letters that said there was insufficient room for fire apparatus to turn around, and that application was denied or wasn't built for any reason whatsoever, for some reason. Is that what you're saying?
No, it was built. It was built. Even though that the fire district said, there'll be problems. And even Remington and Vernick said there will be problems.
Okay, so is it your point that it was too much then and it's even more too much now? Is that the point you're saying?
My point is that even though the people lost out on the block then, let's correct it. Let's make sure it doesn't happen, and then it'll be no recourse at all, and then God forbid you'll be looking for problems.
All right, Mr. Vogt, are you familiar with this letter that the gentleman's talking about that addressed turnaround radiuses or whatnot?
Unfortunately, I'm not, John. I don't have any records at hand as to what the application was or what the issues are. I can tell you that more and more in recent years, we've been relying on the township, people who have institutional knowledge, like the fire official, like the Traffic Safety Bureau, like Public Works, getting their input as part of the process to make sure there are not issues that we're not aware of. I don't have the file on the 2014 application. I can't tell you how that got approved or deemed compliant. Based on what I'm hearing tonight, similar to what you were saying a few minutes ago, if it was a problem then, if you're adding more now, logic would indicate that you may be exacerbating a problem, which is why I'm recommending at least exploring a turnaround at this point, not revisiting the past. You know, if the board is just
Yeah,
going to
and
favorably
there's
on
another way
this.
of looking at it in that concern was rejected by the board because the application was approved. We don't know if it was something that was done reluctantly or.
I don't have the record, John. I can't tell you one
Yeah,
way
no,
or another.
I agree. And this is something the gentleman's bringing up now. I'm just, throwing that out there for the board that that could cut two ways. But Mr. Vogt, and you've raised the same concern as I understand it. When you did your review, you've said, look, well, this is a little, we need more of a turnaround. And that was your concern.
Yeah. And again, I acknowledge you don't have room for an RSIS cul-de-sac. But RSIS does allow, in the absence of a cul-de-sac, they will allow you to do a turnaround, which is likely going to be smaller in size, and you have a little more flexibility in terms of how it can be incorporated on the property. It's much easier, in my opinion, to do a turnaround than to do an RS compliant bulk. But based upon what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, my personal opinion is you should explore a turnaround.
And sir, I think you've made your point. Is there anything on a different topic that you like to bring up before we move on to the next
If you
comments?
need these letters, I could email it when I get to internet. I could try to email it to the
Well,
township,
those
to
letters
Ally
are
Martin.
That's okay, sir. I have them in the file. I have them in the old file, so that's not necessary.
Right. Also, there was one other concern is that the drainage that they had mentioned before by the park. Now, what was been happening till now is that drainage, when we have a very, very bad rainstorm, has been bubbling up. Not only bubbling up regular water, dirty water, and just rolling it all the way down the street. Now, if we're going to have three duplexes there and having so much more runoff water and not much place that it should soak down, it's going to be much worse.
The lot is currently an impervious lot. So to remind the board, this is a commercial lot that is primarily impervious. It's not like there's zero traffic coming off the lot or zero stormwater. It is used commercially today. So as far as an exacerbation of traffic, it is commercially used as opposed to residential in a residential zone. Regarding the stormwater, we are reducing the amount of impervious, so that'll certainly benefit the stormwater, and we're proposing drywall systems for the units. But if I may, I would like to take a moment just to confer with my client. We've been kind of texting back and forth, but I believe we can agree to work with Terry and the Public Works to come up with, say, a small hammerhead type.
If you don't mind, Mr. Kuziba, let's first just get through the public comments,
Sure.
and then I think the board will deal with, is there anyone else that wishes to be heard?
I did receive another email. I'm looking now to see if we have any new phone numbers that I don't recognize. I think the only phone numbers on here are the ones we already checked, but I will share my screen and for the new comment that was received. This is from Mark Becker. He said, I would like to correct the applicant's professional he represented this evening that was a previous catering facility on the subject area. He therefore testified that there was a pre-existing condition. However, that representation is inaccurate. Having conducted business with Greenwald Caterers, I can state that the premises consisted of a caterer's kitchen only. The traffic generated by that cooking kitchen was very minimal compared to what is being proposed. The street cannot safely accommodate the proposed development. That's everything that I have via email, and I believe all of the people waiting to speak online.
Can I say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I say? It's Mrs. Leiser. I want to bring up another point.
Did you?
Hold on, sir, you had your opportunity. Unless the chairman wants to have you allow a second bite of the apple, we'd probably like to hear what everyone else has to say, and then the chairman will make his determination.
This is Mrs. Lizer. This is the wife.
I thought she said she wanted to say one other thing, so
Her husband
I
spoke.
think Mr. Lizer spoke earlier.
I misunderstood. Ma'am, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony we give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
That means she's telling her husband what to say, which I guess we should expect that, but all kidding aside.
I'm leaving that alone.
I shouldn't have said that. Please, ma'am.
Okay, right now, the driveway into Greenwald is a single driveway. By putting up 3 duplexes, you're adding another 2 driveways. And I know this is not as big as the safety concern, but right now there is absolutely no parking on the block. So by taking 1 driveway and making it into 3 to fit 4 cars each, that means the other side of the street, we are losing the entire parking. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
But just wouldn't the parking be, the off-street parking entranceway would be in front of this property? Am I wrong?
No, because they're doing ways for each house.
Right,
Here,
in front of the house would be the driveway.
but it's 6 houses, right? That means that there's driveways along the whole property where now, to get into Greenwald, there was 1 driveway, and then, and then the rest of this thing was a full sidewalk. It was 1 driveway for a huge piece of property. Now the whole street is going to be driveways.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Ally, or should we close it to the public?
I believe we can close it to the public.
Okay, so I'll close it to the public now. And Mr. Kashuba, you heard the concerns. I'm assuming the board has the same concerns. Why don't you confer, take a 2-minute break, confer with your client?
Will do.
And come out. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've had an opportunity to discuss it with my clients. As I said, we've been texting back and forth, and Terry's correct, and my testimony is we cannot provide a cul-de-sac here. RSI's compliant cul-de-sac or even a small cul-de-sac would have a detrimental impact on the lot and would reduce the lot area, creating a zoning board issue. But we can provide a hammerhead, small hammerhead on the property to allow for turnaround of emergency vehicles, and provide that in an easement, and work with Terry and the fire commissioner, as well as DPW, to come up with a size that works for everybody.
Where would that be? And would that, be a public improvement? Would it be an easement? How would it be configured?
So it would be a hammerhead style extension. Ally, if you could put the layout plan on the screen, please. The development plan, sorry.
Yes, just give me a moment. I closed it all, being too excited for the next application.
So while Ally's pulling it up, it would be in an easement. It would be on the eastern end of the property. We do have a lawn area at the eastern end that would allow us to extend a hammerhead into the property. It's a drainage area map, but it's still
Joe,
shows.
hold on one second. Ally, is that my share or your share?
I think we did it at the same time, and I kicked you off, and now it's mine.
Okay.
Don't mess with Ally.
Bumped me right out of there. Mr. Kashuba, can you draw on this?
I cannot draw on this screen, that where the board can see, but, Ally, I'm sure is, so that's actually a hammerhead on the driveway. My thought is that it'd be a hammerhead vertically, off the end of the tree coming, the proposed tree right there, yep. A box right there. Correct. There'd be some sort of a hammerhead there that would allow for turnaround. It would be in an easement, a right-of-way easement to allow for access. We wouldn't be able to dedicate that area to the town because then we create a density issue on the property.
And if we would give you the density
You don't
variance,
have the right to,
we can't, right? Okay.
unfortunately.
I mean, it's really the same thing. If you give the easement, okay. Now,
I think the easement approach is a practicable option, Chairman.
would this allow for a fire truck, an emergency vehicle to turn around? Would it be big enough for that?
We would seek input from the fire commissioner and Public Works and work with Mr. Kashuba's office to make sure that the turnaround is adequately dimensioned to do just that.
You know what I would ask the board to consider? Emergency vehicles, as a general rule, don't need to turn around because they usually come with the police and sirens and lights, and they can do whatever they want. But I think the concern is also the everyday, the delivery trucks, et cetera. And will they be able to use this kind of facility?
We do design these regularly, especially in the townhouse developments. It's a standard use in a townhouse development to have a hammerhead in that fashion. So yes, I'm fully confident we can design something that DPW would be happy with.
And I don't know if that's one of the board's concerns, that it be configured in such a way to allow the general public to turn around, or delivery trucks and such, garbage trucks, even school buses. But then again, is that also a good idea there? Or I don't know if that was supposed to be open space or a yard where kids were going to play otherwise. I mean, I think you got to look at the whole picture, literally. Just putting that out.
They actually have a playground on the other side. So
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to hear, any board members have any input on this plan, on this detail of the plan?
Sometimes they tell us that a school is better. As a threat, they tell us it's better to put a school here. I think this is the time.
Okay.
What's the response about the neighbor who talked about the parking? The off-street parking is already fairly horrendous.
So we are fully compliant with the parking requirements. We're providing 4 parking stalls for each unit. As far as the on-street parking that exists there, it sounds to me if there's excess on-street parking there, it's likely due to excess parking from the units across the street, and those were designed to comply with the parking demands at the time that they were installed. The hammerhead will seek to eliminate even more on-street parking, but we are fully compliant here as far as parking. We're not creating any issues, and the applicant certainly has the right to develop his property.
Is your parking double stacked?
Yes.
Okay.
If you would take out the last duplex and make it a single-family home, would you be able to then get a compliant cul-de-sac?
I don't believe a single-family home is permitted in this zone, so as far as planning is concerned, I think this is the better alternative.
Single-family home is not permitted, but a duplex is? I didn't know we had to.
Yeah, we're in the RM zone, the multifamily zone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There are single-family homes across the street.
But if you would put in, I just want to understand the property. If you would put in a single-family home over there, would you be able to then put in a cul-de-sac?
the concern would be that single family home would need a front yard setback, no matter what we develop on that piece. An RSI is compliant cul-de-sac, the width of that right of way is typically 48-foot radius, 96 feet wide, which would extend out into this lot considerably. So given that it's an existing condition that's been there for a substantial amount of time, the board saw fit to approve duplexes at 2 different times. The duplex is immediately across the street, and then the duplex at the northeast corner. And we agree to provide a hammerhead that'll certainly benefit the area and provide a turnaround opportunity that hasn't existed there for 20 years, even though it's been developed for that amount of time. I think certainly outweighs any detriments from the variances we're requesting. The variances are very minimal here, purely giving an extra 100 square feet from 2 of the lots to 1 of the lot. We still have over 30,000 square feet for the 3 duplex units, which is compliant with the zoning. The only other item is a setback against the railroad because it's on an angle. It's very limited relief here. I think providing the hammerhead certainly outweighs any detriments that might occur.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members, or I'll entertain a motion either to one way or another on this application. Would anyone like to make a motion on this application?
I'll make a motion to deny this application.
I'm sorry, you broke up slightly. I didn't hear what the motion was for.
Mr. Meyer?
Sorry, the motion is to deny this application.
I know you can't hear him well, but I believe he said the motion is to deny the application.
Okay, is there a second on the motion?
I'll second. This is Justin.
Okay, any discussion? No, okay, let's have a roll call, please.
Mr. Garfield.
No, until we see a final paper on this.
Let me clarify for everyone on this roll call, since the motion is to deny, if your action on the motion is affirmative, that means you support the denial. If your action is negative, that means you do not support the motion to deny. Mr. Garfield, what's your motion?
It would be a negative motion.
Okay.
That means, Mr. Garfield, just to clarify, you're in favor of denying the application, is that correct?
No.
Correct. I
Oh,
want to deny.
He wants to deny it.
okay. Mr. Stern.
May I ask a question before I vote?
Sure.
So if we deny it, what is the recourse of the applicant?
I'm going to lean on John, but my understanding would be he could come back with a modified application which is essentially by right. And we could still require outside approvals, including Public Works and the fire official, and still probably end up with the bump out in some form. That's my interpretation. John, I don't know if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that the applicant could do. Hold on, let me go on my other computer. I'm getting feedback.
Thank you. There are a couple things that the applicant could do. They could appeal the denial, in which case they would go to court and say that the board's action was arbitrary or capricious. That would be their argument. And another option is they would be able to come back with a modified plan that was substantially different, materially different. And that is a judgment call. And then it would be up to the board in the first instance to decide if the board was materially different. And if the board decides it's materially different, you could hear the application and vote on it. And it would be addressed on its merits at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I speak on that subject at this point too, or is there a motion in there?
Sorry, who was that speaking?
We're in the middle of roll call.
I think we're voting.
If you'll allow it, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman, do you want to allow comment in the middle of the roll call?
Yeah, you're in the middle of a roll call vote. It would be
Yes, we have a motion, we have a second, move the roll call. Let's go on.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Stern, do you support the motion to deny or no?
Yes.
Mr. Sable,
Same here.
support the motion to deny. Mr. Flansbaum, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Herzl's not here. Mr. Renner,
Yes.
support the motion to deny. Mr. Meyer, was your motion?
Yes.
Thank you. That is a denial of the application.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next application.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Brenner, if I may, just because of the audio and the negative motion with the positive vote, if there is any member who did not want to deny this application, who voted, please speak up now. All of the votes were to deny. If that was not someone's intent, please speak up now. There being no response. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's move on.
I would ask that anyone who was here on just that application, thank you for your comments and please sign off. If you're here for other applications, certainly stay. We will now go ahead, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Martin, on the next application, 2369, is there a quorum without you on that one?
Yes, Mr. Renner has a conflict on the next application, but at the moment we have 6 members here, so he will be stepping down and Mr. Stern will be chairing for the next application, which is SP 2369 for Yeshivas Shagas Aryeh. It's a major site plan for a school on Nyman and Cross.
Ellie, will you be able to, I have a hard stop at 8. Will you be able to hang out just in case this goes till 8 and we don't have a quorum?
I can't sit on this application, so.
So this one I understand, but there's a third one coming after it, and I have to go at 8. So in case I don't think this application should take an hour, but we're going to lose the quorum if I leave at 8 and we get to the third one. I want to see if you could hang out until the third
here,
comes
but
up.
if you do need me, if you don't get this through this within 15 minutes, call me and I'll come back.
I will text you if we need you for the third one. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I will share my screen, Mr. Stern, and Mr. Vogt can start on his letter when you're ready.
Barry, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm beginning on page 3 of our May the 13th letter that Ally just put on the screen. Under submission waivers included are signed sealed copy of the survey, traffic study, proof of submission to County Planning Board, topo contours, man-made features within 200 feet, EIS, tree protection management, landscaping, and soil erosion. We can support the waivers for public hearing purposes for reasons stated in the letter.
Wasn't there a problem with the survey, Terry?
There is. If you look at the paragraph in bold, just under submission waiver 10, we indicated a submission waiver is required from providing a survey. The current survey is not indicative of site conditions. The current survey should be required as a condition of any approval, since some improvements may need alterations. If the board acted favorably, we would receive and review and update a survey during compliance review.
So submission waiver means we don't have to have it to act, but it's a condition of final approval that, when we approve the resolution, that they have submitted after the fact an updated survey. Is that correct?
Correct. In this case, we're simply, we have identified that the currently submitted survey is not 100% accurate with regard to current conditions. We recognize that. We've had communications with the applicant's professionals going back to the tech meeting, and we've agreed that if approval is granted as part of compliance, so we can review existing conditions, we will get an updated survey at that time.
Okay. Chairman, may I just clarify for anyone wondering about these lists? These submission waivers that Terry lists, these are all items listed as required for a standard application. Terry is telling me what is missing, and then is indicating whether or not he supports waiving that requirement at this time because he doesn't feel that you need to see it, and that he would be fine to review it under resolution compliance. So it is something that's typically submitted, but they're asking for a waiver to do it later.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, thank you.
So we
Chairman?
need a motion on the.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, David. Yes,
I
sir.
have a question on this paper here from Remick and Vernick. Page 2, it says project description. They're asking for approval to allow 3 temporary modular buildings to become permanent on lot 19. Well, a temporary building means lasting for a limited time, not permanent. A permanent building is long-lasting, durable, which can't be both.
Yeah, what I would recommend, Dave, is to wait to get testimony from the applicant's professionals on that issue. A lot of times people think of modular and temporary as the old trailers. Modular construction has really changed over the last 15, 20 years. You now have a whole part of construction where you can have modular buildings as simply a construction method, but they are permanent building quality. I like the applicant to testify further on that when we get into the hearing.
Okay, thank you. I'm having trouble hearing, so I apologize.
No, you're fine. What we're up to now is submission waivers. So, Tara, am I understanding you to say that you support all of the submission waivers requested by the applicant? Is that correct?
For hearing purposes, that's correct.
Yes. Okay. Do we need a motion on that to approve that submission waiver?
Yes, you should take.
What's that?
And you know, you can either go through a roll call or you can just for all in favor and all opposed.
Okay. All in? Okay. And do we have a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Unanimous consent. So now we go to zoning.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Continuing on page 4 under section 2 zoning, as indicated in comment 2, front yard variance setbacks are required for modular building 3. Comment 3, side yard setback variance is also required for building 3. Comment 4, variance is required from perimeter buffer requirements in section 18906A of the UDO. And we're not sure we're going to get testimony, but parking relief may be required as well as per comment 5. There are no bus loading and unloading areas that are shown on the site plan. Technically, that would be a variance since that's in section 900 of the code, and any other relief that may be necessary. Finally, under design waivers, page 5, section 3, waiver is necessary with regard to curbing along the West Cross Street frontage. Follow-up comments not clear whether the sidewalk along West Cross Street will be relocated. The board shall act on the design waiver as necessary with respect to curbing. I believe that's all the relief, Chairman.
Okay. So, Al, do we vote on the design waivers and the other ones as well?
No, the design waivers and the variances are considered as part of the application.
Okay, so now we hear testimony from the applicant. Is that correct?
That's
okay.
correct.
Who is representing the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Adam Pfeffer, on behalf of the applicant, Yeshiva Chagas Aryeh. As I'm sure many of the members are familiar with the school, Rabbi Kinnerick runs the school, and it's one of the most prestigious programs in town. The application before the board this evening is a little bit of an anomaly in that nothing is changing from what's existing today. Previously, there were some temporary buildings that were approved. Over the last few years, the applicant has made some significant improvements to that site and to the temporary buildings, and we are now seeking to make those buildings permanent. I do have Glenn Lyons here to address any technical engineering questions. If we can, at this time, have Mr. Lyons sworn in.
Hold on one moment, Mr. Pfeffer. We just received, or I just received an email from Mr. Moishe Zainis, and I'd like you to address this. He says the board lacks jurisdiction because the notice did not say that there was a ballroom proposed in the plan. He cites a 2019 case entitled Lakewood Realty versus Lakewood Township Planning Board in RD Lakewood, where he said that the appellate division said that public notice for development must describe the proposed uses within the project. And the court deemed the notice deficient because it did not describe the banquet facilities. Tonight's application, the notice did not provide that. I think you're more familiar with that case than I am, Mr. Pfeffer. I was not involved in that, my recollection serves me. But as I recall, that was a hotel, and that hotel had a banquet facility as part of the hotel. And the appellate division ruled, I believe it was an unreported decision, that the notice had to say, did not say that there's going to be a bar. Am I thinking of the right case? I think you were.
If that's the one in Cedar Bridge. The appellate division overruled. They said my notice was deficient in that I didn't mention a liquor license, which I still disagree with the appellate division, but that's a separate case. But that has to do with a hotel is allowed to have a liquor license if it has over 100 rooms. This has nothing to do with this case. This is an existing school.
Was that case unreported?
I believe it's an unreported case, yes.
Okay, so it's not binding precedent. I'm going to check that. But I'll just advise the board, you have to make a determination whether the notice was adequate in its description and whether you believe that the notice should state that that a banquet hall is included. The argument on the other side of the coin is that in a facility of this type, a banquet facility is a usual and customary accessory or sub facility. But you know, it's up to the board whether it is, in the first instance, should give the question is, does this give fair appraisal to the neighbors and the community of what they're actually doing here? And is the absence of mention of a ballroom?
Is Mr. Zainis talking about the next application or this application? We're talking about some trailers, turning them some permanent structures. The next one is a school. I think he's mixing up the applications.
Okay. So Adam, let me ask you, is this?
Shakatari is an existing school.
I'm sorry. You're right, because his email subject line says SP 2423. That's not the application we're discussing right now.
I apologize. Well,
That's
just
okay.
remember what I said for when we get to the next application.
Perfect.
John, that's why we wait for the public comment to bring up these.
Well, no, but this is an objection to jurisdiction. So, and I saw it come through at the beginning, so I apologize.
No problem.
Second.
So as I was saying, what you see on this application is what's there. It was there today. Nothing is changing. If we can, we'll swear in Mr. Lyons, who could address the technical questions.
Do you swear affirm, Mr. Lyons, the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Glenn, you're muted.
Okay. Yes, Glenn Lyons, professional engineer and professional planner.
Mr. Chairman, do you accept Glenn Lyons as an expert in this field?
I certainly do.
Thank you. Glenn, if you can just confirm what I indicated and walk us through Terry's report.
Yes, this is an application for 3 modular buildings that were previously approved as temporary, and we're now coming back to keep them as permanent structures. The modulars have been placed on site. They've been upgraded over the past year or two, so it would really be a shame to get rid of them because they're in good condition. You know, unlike the old modulars, that lasted a couple of years. These are more like modular homes. They probably will last 30, 40 years before there's any problem. So the variance numbers 2 and 3, therefore the existing setbacks to the modular that's located next to the gym, which is the one right off Nyman Road, they we have 24.3 feet from Nyman Road to the modular, where 70 is required. The gym next to it was approved with a 46.6 foot, I'm sorry, 69.45 setback to Nyman Road. So they're basically in line. They're not blocking any traffic, any sight distance. They're on the outside of the curve of the road. The other 2 modulars are located in the middle of the site. There's an existing house, and they've been built to the rear of those. They're in an area that was left open for future development. That's why we had these 2 modulars, and we're using those as basically a future development. As far as the 20-foot buffer, we would request a waiver of that. We don't really have any space for it, and right now there's a little paved area next to the modular number 1. That's where the township has requested and removed our solid waste dumpsters up to that location. It's easier for the township to get into it. So right under the double N in Nyman is where the trash enclosure is now. It was originally proposed behind the building, but Public Works requested that we do something to move it to make it a little more convenient for them. They're happy to move it up where it is. As far as the comment number 5 on parking, when this was approved, I didn't look up the number, but we did have an excess of parking, just in case at some point we had some additions to the building. Basically, we were at about 150%. And don't hold the number, but it was a large amount of excess parking for the school. So I know we do not need a variance for that. Bus loading and unloading is along the front of the school. At the time this was approved, we would show where the buses would be staged, but there wasn't a requirement for an actual loading zone. As you can see, the driveway there is wider. It allows 2-way traffic and parking of the buses. At the white rectangles you see on the pavement, those are buses being loaded in front of the school. Let me see. That's the variances. On design waivers, we received a waiver from Ocean County to not provide curbing along West Front Street. They agreed to the waiver as long as we move the sidewalk back. On this application, we provided more of a wandering path along the front of the property for the sidewalk, and that allowed us to save some existing mature trees that were between the parking lot and West Cross Street, and that was something the board was interested in back when this was originally approved. So I request that design waiver be continued as it was approved the way it's shown in the plan. Going on through the letter, we really don't have any problem with addressing the comments in the letter.
Glenn, am I correct in stating that what the board sees in front of them is existing today and nothing is changing?
Yes, this is exactly what you would see if you drove out to the site today.
Hey, can you also just give I know we had a couple existing variances. Can you just give the justification? I think there was a side yard, I believe. If you can just walk us through that and put the proofs on.
That's waivers, I'm sorry. We got side yard setback for modular building number 3. There's an existing 23.4 foot setback, which is where 70 is required. Again, this is an existing condition. This is where the modular was approved to be placed. Again, we're on the outside of a curve in Nyman Road. It doesn't cause any sight distance problems. And the original building got a variance of 46.06 feet when it was built. So this is just in keeping with variance. I don't believe that the location is going to be any detriment to.
Mr. Lyons, I'm sorry, but if I'm having trouble finding, the board members may as well. Where is this side setback? Is it not a front setback to Nyman? Where's the side?
Well,
I know the letter says side, but where on the map is it?
Well, it is that 24.3 where you had the right there. It's technically a side because that's the adjoining lot next door. So they called it out as a side setback. Actually, to the front property line, we have 53.72 feet where 70 is required, and that's right above where it says.
I see. This is the side right here. This is where the property ends.
Yes.
So you're proposing this turnaround on the neighboring property per DPW. Do you have approval for that?
Yes. Well, that's what we placed that with DPW wanted it so that they didn't have to drive into the site and go behind the building.
So your very small side setback is this 4 feet right here to neighboring lot 30.
Correct.
Thank you.
Actually, it's the other one is, if you look at the other corner, it's 3.4 feet.
Thank you.
Okay. And then there's a number under where you drew by the pull off from the street. I think it's at 56 feet. I can't read it now. Oh, hang on. I have it right here. So
that's a 53 foot to the front.
53.72 is actually the front setback to the modular, where the existing building is 46.6 feet. So, yeah, actually our side setbacks is the 3.2. So really what had been called out as front setbacks in Terry's letter, which is the 69.45 and the 24.3, they're through the neighbor's lot. They're really side setbacks rather than front setbacks.
Allie, can you show me again where the 3 foot setback is?
Yeah, I'm going to show you on the plan first. It's a little easier to see without the aerial behind it.
Yeah.
So this is existing building 3.
Right.
This is actually the side lot line. The 3-point-something foot setback is right there.
Got it.
And then the front setback is actually measured in this direction.
Got it. Okay. And on the north side, on the other property, it looks like just dirt, and it says something asphalt if you go back to the aerial, but I couldn't read it. What is that gray rectangle?
Basketball court.
That's
a basketball court for the adjoining property. Oh, thank you.
Correct.
That's not your property.
No, it's not. Although although they overlap the property line a little bit.
Okay, that's fine. And the right triangle to the left is just dust and dirt?
Some trees and some dirt, yes.
Okay, all right, so that's not impacting anybody.
Right.
Okay.
So just to go back, now that we've kind of clarified everything, in number 2, where it says minimum front yard setback variances, the modular number 3 is 50, sorry, I don't know how is 53.72 feet where 70 is required. The existing yeshiva building is 46.06 feet where 70 is required. And the gymnasium is well over the 70 feet required. That's probably closer to 120 feet back to the gym, so that doesn't need a variance at all.
So what's the history? This has never come, I mean, I imagine the building came before the planning board back in the day when it was built, whereas the 3 modulars went to the inspection department, or has it ever come before the planning board before?
It did come before the planning board I'm sorry, I don't remember. I know the site plan came before the board back in 2011, 2012. So
to build the building.
The building and the site plan. The trailers, I don't believe ever came before the board. They went as you indicated, to the building department. They received a permit. They installed them. Usually there's a limitation when they get the building permit for how long they can be. Over time, those buildings have been substantially improved. And at this point, the school really has a good use for them, and they would like to make these permanent. And that's why this application is before this board.
Okay, so on the idea that they've been how have they been substantially improved?
So with regard to the improvements, I do have the builder who is available to give testimony if we can. John, if we can at this time swear in Mr. Auerbach, so I could indicate, although I see he's on the phone, I don't know.
I saw him before. I see him.
Yeah, there he is. Okay. If we can swear in Mr. Auerbach, who is the builder for the site.
Mr. Auerbach, do you swear from testimony you'll give before this board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed.
So the board wants to like to hear what Rabbi Kanarik over time as he improved these sites. Can you please give some, as you were the builder, what improvements were done to make these that we're now seeking to make these buildings permanent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pepper. So Abe Albeck over here. So basically what happens as follows. The school started off as trailers as the schools grew, and then people needed more space, and they were, Knack, please come do it, blah, blah, blah. He came, he did it. And then over time, instead of people decided, no, he needs more and more, and he realized this has to be made permanent. So we've improved it. Obviously, we're going to be complying with all applicable codes, and all the proper inspections are all going to be fully compliant. We have added walkways to make it all safe and compliant. Obviously, any additional classrooms, any parking requirements would be made sure we have sufficient parking to match and to make sure that it is fully safe and compliant.
Again, Mr. Arabic, just to confirm, these are on site already. Nothing is changing.
On site, nothing has changed. Nothing's planned on changing. We've upgraded. We put a new siding on it, new roofing on it. It has been all up to applicable building codes.
So Mr. Auerbach, Ali, can you pull up the picture that I emailed you from Google Earth? Make it a little bit bigger.
I have to wait for the share symbol to go away from my screen. I know you can't see it, but I can't.
Okay, so Mr.
I can't edit anything.
It looks to me, I just pulled this up from Google Earth. It looks to me that you raised the building, you put in a basement.
No, we have not added any square footage. We have built it as per the standards at the time, and we've increased it and reinforced it up to the applicable codes. There's no additional square footage being added now. This is what's there now. Nothing is being proposed to be changed.
What is it we're looking at that it looks like it's on stilts? I mean, is that how you built it back in the day? I don't know.
I'm sorry, I just want to ask, is this, Bruce, this is a picture that you pulled up? Just so I know what I'm looking at?
No, right there. Yeah, this is Google Map. This is Google Earth.
So again, again, for the board, I know this is all being recorded and everything. I just would like to make sure, John, that we just identify this picture, that it's a Google Earth image, and that's what we're looking at, which is perfectly fine. I just want to make sure that we identify it properly.
Yeah, again, Bruce,
Right,
I don't know
and I
exactly
believe
what time.
these proceedings are all recorded, so I don't think there's going to be any question of what the record is, right?
Okay. The reason I'm saying that is this is an older picture. This is not what's there today. And I was going to get to my next question being, this is not, if you go there today, that's not here. This is not what it looks like. So that's why when I say we pull up these Google images, if it's all vacant virgin land, I have no issue. But when I have a picture that's of a building that's half built, it becomes a little problematic. That's my only point in saying that, John.
Ali, it's Chaim Sable. I just emailed you pictures from today, see what I wanted to share with the board.
If we can,
just a moment.
Who took that? Where is this?
So, Mr. Albert, while we're waiting to pull that up, what is it we're seeing in the Google Earth thing? Is that like a platform? What is that?
So the way trailers are built, they're built on piers. They're built on piers and they put on skirting around it. I don't know exactly what point in time that picture was taken. Maybe it was during construction or in the process, or maybe even repairs are being done to it. I don't know. But again, typical, the way trailers are constructed, which we've reinforced and added supports and added additional footings and piers to comply to make it quote unquote permanent. We've built new roofs. We've built additional, we've connected roofs, new exterior facade. Everything is brought up to speed, up to all, everything here is done with permits, fully compliant.
Ali, there's 3 pictures, if you don't mind to scroll down. It's 3 pictures in the same PDF file.
There it is. So it's just a foundation, basically.
That's correct. Obviously, somebody take it off to do repairs or do maybe. So I don't know exactly what stage it is right now, or maybe they're waiting to hear the approval today before they decide if they should get it everything out. I don't know exactly what's going on there at the moment right now. But I'm saying every single thing there is fully compliant with all applicable codes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Garfield, please.
Yes. It's been mentioned that this has been improved and changed, but that was many years ago, it seems. Does this meet today's standards for approval on this?
Yes.
Do you have a document showing the approval?
Well, again, all permits were pulled at the inspection department, and all work done, be it new roofs, new facade, new electrical service, additional piers, additional tie downs, whatever is necessary to make this a more permanent nature has been done with all applicable codes. And obviously, I can't get prepared to pull it up, but I can share all those permits with the professionals should the board grant this variance. And obviously, we'll agree to keep it and to do to clean it up and make it more. Figure out what the heck's happening there. But yes, everything was done with the proper permits. I don't have that handy at the second.
Okay, no, this is very helpful. Mr. Pfeffer, in Terry's report, it talks about the classrooms being, I guess, 1 class per building, but in actuality, it's really 2 classes per building. I'm not sure where I saw that.
I think you're talking about on page 4.
Yeah, number 5.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ali. I'm looking down. I look up. It's on the screen. Thank you. Yes, Ali indicated architectural plans show 1 classroom per building. Applicant's professional indicated 2 classrooms per modular building are proposed. I guess, Glenn, can you just confirm? I guess is it one or two? And either way, do we have enough parking? That's the question, right? It's leading to, do we need a parking variance to the next step? So Glenn, can you just clarify?
And Glenn, let me, before you answer that, if you could put a footnote on it. You know, it talks about here getting rid of the basketball hoops. I think that's a profoundly bad idea. Boys need basketball. But the question is, assuming the basketball, which is on the plans as parking, is really not used for parking, it's used for basketball, then how do our parking requirements stack up? So maybe answer it straight and answer with my variant, please.
And Glenn, before you answer, I just want to point out, everything here is existing, right? So we're not adding any more students based upon these trailers. These trailers are there already. So I just keep that in mind, as it's a site that works already, and I'll let Glenn, however he's going to answer, whatever the professional answer is, you know, if it's a parking variance or not a parking variance. I do agree. I think the basketball courts should remain. So Glenn, if you can just clarify.
If I can clarify something quickly, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at our comment. The intent of our comment was not to remove the basketball courts per se. They're currently striped as parking areas. We were talking about removing the striped parking areas.
Okay, so you're anticipating what I was saying. So if we remove the striping and put a big sign that says no parking, but on the site plan, that's parking, right? Number 14 on the site plan says that's parking. In reality,
Correct.
that's basketball. So
Certainly
I don't
while
want
the kids are playing, yes.
Yes.
Well, oh yeah, okay. Can we have dual use? I don't know.
Well,
That's up to the board. That's our recommendation.
I'm just trying to avoid having cars zooming in if somebody's coming late to a meeting and the kids are playing basketball on it's, I don't know, a foggy day or something.
That was our concern as well, Chairman.
Right.
Yeah,
Mr. Stern,
we're pro basketball.
We're pro basketball.
But your points are valid, and obviously we'll make sure that the school is out there watching the kids. You know, it is typical.
Hey, 1 second. We have to get to a technical item, maybe. So let Glenn finish his answer. So we have to figure out if and do we have to ask for a parking variance or not. So I need Glenn to give an answer on this one.
We have sufficient parking for the school and 6 additional classrooms in the parking area in front of the school. The extra parking spaces in the back were intended, you know, you have 6, you have and 14, so there were 20 additional spaces if they were necessary for parking during student conferences or, you know,
PTA,
some type of PTA or something where you needed more parking, because there's really no parking on 9
So
Road.
it would be an off-peak time, so that kids would not be sitting playing there.
That is correct. I'm sure, and now that Public Works does not have to go down into the back to pick up the trash from the enclosure that was in the back of the building, we could easily trying to see what Allie's trying to write. I'm sorry.
Allie, what are you making?
That's a basketball hoop.
Allie, everyone's watching you.
No, they're on the parking lot. The basketball's on the parking lot. This is like Red War or something.
Day job, Allie.
This is like Picasso.
Pursue the artist.
Picasso, Allie.
I think that to help with the board's concern, and I do agree, you really don't want cars down there if there's people out playing basketball. I'm sure we could put some type of a chain or a fence or, you know, or a gate up at the top of the driveway, you know, in the front of the school to keep cars and trucks or anything. Yeah, maybe a little further to the left, but I'm sure we could arrange to have, you know, as a condition, get that done, and then, you know, then the rest of it can be used during the daytime for basketball and other things.
Well, I'm not trying to make you guys crazy. If this, from a practical standpoint, you never use that parking lot during the day, then I'm assuming you're good stewards of these kids. I was just asking the question. I see basketball hoops on Google Earth, and I see your site plan says parking. So during the day, if you eliminated those 20 stalls, are you still compliant? Let me put it that way.
Yes, we are.
So then it's a moot point.
Right. Again, if we'll make the board feel, more confident, we could do something to restrict vehicles to get down to in the back end.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's Chaim Sable. Quick question. Ali pointed out before with her marker that the original building had a unfinished basement, and therefore they cannot assess the amount of parking that's needed. What is the condition of the basement now? And the parking that we discussed, is that both is for the building and there's 3 extra trailers, and we're still complying with parking?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the basement is not finished? It's still unfinished basement?
If I can just ask Mr. Auerbach again, I don't want to give you the wrong answer. If we could just confirm with the builder. Abe, are you still on the call?
I'm here.
But to the question Mr. Sable has is, what's the existing condition of the basement of the school?
The basement is finished, and we have all approvals for that to go for the complete basement for school use. There's no rental. There's no bar mitzvah halls. There's no wedding halls.
It's finished as what?
As a school use, a lunchroom, computer room, and all fully up to code, up to snuff.
Does that require additional parking spots?
No.
What
No,
is the total
it's the same school use. The kids go downstairs, they have a big room where they eat lunch. They go down and pray. There is no additional kids being generated by the additional space. That was done 4 years ago, 5 years ago at least. You would not have gotten a permit then. You would not have gotten a permit then if not.
Are you coming to the board now because these trailers, because you're trying to get a CO or permit for that basement, or it has nothing to do with it?
No, we're trying to, as indicated before, the applications for the trailers originally did not have to come to this board because they are by code can go into the building department. As long as you meet all the criteria, you can get them. But usually they're temporary.
It did come from the board in 2011 in April. I have the 2 resolutions.
For what? For the trailers?
Yeah.
On what date?
She emailed it to me today.
Time for the trails? I think you're making a mistake, Chaim.
Maybe. Let me double check.
No, Chaim, you're making a mistake.
Hey, just let him look.
Chaim never makes a mistake.
Never.
Oh yeah, I do. 2-story building with a basement.
They got a better lawyer at that time, though.
It's a full 2-story building, not for the trailers. You're right.
Right. So our point is that at a later date, they went to the building department, got the trailers, and now, but those trailers have a limited time period when you go to the building department. We're now seeking to make them with some upgrades to make them permanent.
Mr. Orbach, I think you and I both agree that these trailers are not perfect. And
the applicant would agree to make some additional upgrades.
Mr. Pfeffer, 1 second. I think Mr. Orbach would be very, happy to put up a nice building over there.
Correct.
Why aren't we doing a nice building over there instead of keeping a real dungeon? It looks like a dungeon.
Again, Mr. Sable, I don't know if you're aware, no schools are on the money roll. This school's not money-making business. Where he gets approached, Rabbi Knack got approached, he has to help take this kid more tutor rooms, more this. He put up trailers. He thought it'll be temporary as only the needs increased. He realized it has to be permanent. It can't go to him now. Spend another $4.5 million to help out kids. If it's stable, it meets all the applicable codes, we have to do the right thing. As long as it's safe and there's no harm being done, all the kids are and all the codes are being met, that's why the request is here.
Let me just ask you this: Would the builder? I think the applicant would agree to do some sprucing up to make the area and the actual trailers bring to either it's a new siding or something to make it to match with the existing building. That's a very nice side building.
Correct. Agreed.
Good. Maybe the board secretary can do some artwork for you for free.
Yeah, I think we'll spend $2 and hire somebody proper.
Ali, how much do you charge?
You can't put a price on art.
I I think we're going to get these applications on a weekly basis because we have a lot of trailers in town, and they're all going to want to, which is maybe it's the right thing to do. I don't know. We have to figure out a normal way to deal with this because a trailer is a temporary structure. It doesn't last forever. A building, the building that they put up, it's permanent. It's going to stay there forever. It's nice. It's beautiful. Trailers are just going to deteriorate.
Mr. Table, I do agree with you. As a builder who, thank God, makes a living trying to build schools, etc., I try to look at it as the scope. If you have a 75,000 or 85,000 square foot building and you have 800 square feet of trailers or 1,200 square feet of trailers, 5% of the site is trailers, which is now being brought up to code to make it permanent. If that's a fair request. If you have 2% or have 100% of trailers, that's a whole different. Different scope. I'm not saying to deny it. I'm not saying to deny anybody else, but this is not a typical. This is an 85,000 square foot building with the gym and everything else like that. Yes, we do have some modular buildings up here. I agree, but the proportionate is minute.
Can we grant a 10-year permanent 10-year approval that with a time expiration date? Does that make sense? The legal aspect, John.
I'm not familiar with anything that allows a temporary approval. Either it makes sense from a land use perspective or it doesn't. I mean, you could put it in, whether it's enforceable, and as a practical matter, I mean, do you really think anyone's going to evict them or make them shut down 5 or 7 years from now when they're going, guns a-blazing and they're packed and they need the room for school? And you say, well, it was supposed to be temporary, so you're shut down now. I mean, what do you think?
Well, John, the same thing now. You can just tell them, I'm sorry, just leave it like that also. Obviously, there's a way of evicting them and closing down these trailers, God forbid, if needed. So if there's a way out now, there's a way out then.
I'm with you. I mean, the whole idea of temporary trailers on something like this, I mean, it's if you want a nice facility, don't allow the temporary. But I mean, they look pretty nice.
We have a nice facility. We have this is a campus that most schools in town don't have.
I just want this to get approved because I think it'll be the first one ever where there was too much parking.
I can never make you happy, John. I can never make you happy.
I'm going to mark this day in history. I can't.
If you like this parking, wait till you see the next application.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Mr. State,
move this along. Okay, guys, let's get control of the meeting. Terry, I'm recognizing you, and let's move this along.
Thank you. I'm hearing the phrases trailer and modular construction used interchangeably. They're not necessarily the same.
Right.
Are these ancillary buildings, are they trailers or are they modular construction?
They're modular building. They ain't got no wheels.
All right. Modular construction has a bad connotation with regard to trailers. It's become a more acceptable method of schools and administrative facilities in recent years because of ease of construction and more competitive costs. I did work years ago for the New Jersey School Construction Corporation. We had a contract in the Essex region about 20 years ago. Modular construction was a common technique used for permanent classroom and permanent administrative offices. I just want to put that on the record. They're not synonymous terms.
Right. And this is manufactured facility, modular facility. This is not a trailer.
It's manufactured modularly and then assembled on site in place.
Very useful distinction. Okay. Are there any other?
Yes.
Let's move this along. Are there any other questions from the board?
Yes, I do have another question. Terry, a trailer, a modular home is brought into the property and put down on a concrete foundation. A trailer, as far as I understand, and I'm probably going to be wrong, this looks like a trailer. It's brought in on a trailer, put on bricks, and remove the wheels. A modular home that they sell is on concrete foundation and has a proper footing.
It could be done either way, Mr. Sable. If you're looking for, I'll be happy to hire you. But it could be done either way. Modular, I'm actually doing a whole project out of my whole school building out of modular. It could be done either way. I hear why you made that. I hear that. Sorry, I hear that confusion a lot. But it could be done either way. Again, our job is to make sure that all codes are being met. It's all safety codes. This has been here for 5 years already, and unfortunately, the need for it has not decreased, and it's just not a feasible or realistic thing for me to go tell them, okay, go tear it down. It's just not going to happen.
Are you going to go for a new CO for this, or are you going to rely on the old CO?
That's where we're here now, to get a permanent CFO.
The inspector, fire inspector, fire inspector, housing inspector, somebody going to come and inspect this building?
All inspections have been met. All codes have been met. Everything is done. The way it works is that you can only get a TCO for X amount of months at a time because I need engineering since it's only temporary. As time went on, I realized this is not happening. The needs are there. The kids are not God forbid, in quotes. Everyone is there, and the need is not going down in the slightest. They have to make it permanent. So that's where we're here now, to make it permanent. But all safety codes, building codes, electrical codes, plumbing codes, everything is fully up to code. I know it needs a facelift, and we're planning.
What a yeshiva was, and a yeshiva that's on a trailer for 5 or 6 years, or 10. This is a matter of fact 10 years. I'm sure something is broken inside, and maybe some windows, or maybe a fire extinguisher, or fire sprinkler.
This is not a yeshiva. This is an accessory, a minor. Again, it's a 2% of the whole project of 85,000 square feet. There are tutor rooms. There are.
That's not what I'm questioning. I'm questioning if the inside of the building is going to be inspected by a fire inspector or a building inspector to make sure.
You have annual inspections by the fire marshal, who comes around and inspects annually to make sure that it's safe and complies with all safety regulations. Any school building requires maintenance. Any school building requires upkeep. That's a standard, whether if somebody cracks a tile or if somebody drops something, and I can't, but the fire marshal goes around and inspects it every single year to make sure that it's fully safe, and you have no concern to be concerned about that if it's safe or not.
Okay, gentlemen, Chaim, why don't we do this? Why don't I give you the honor of making the motion and make a condition?
We have to open to the public first?
I know that. I'm just letting him know that if he wants to put a condition on the motion that Terry has to review all of the fire department inspection certificates that are recent and updated, he can make that a condition. But yes, you are correct.
That's not something that we would typically do, truthfully, Chairman. We work with the building department routinely as another agency.
Okay.
But I don't look over the construction department's back per se.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Mr. Chairman, this is Justin.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out, the elementary school that I attended in Lakewood, Batsalwa Hebrew Day School, also had a trailer, which was a tutoring room for the kids that needed extra help.
It's still there.
Yeah, I think it's still there, actually. So, I mean, to Mr. Arabak's point, which I attended also for speech therapy when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade, when you went out of the building into the trailer, and the trailer was permanent. So Mr. Arabak's point, I mean, I happen to live down the street from this school, and it's the boys are inside the school building. It's a very big school. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of boys inside the school building, and they use the trailer for an accessory use for tutor rooms. I mean, I don't see anything out of the ordinary regarding that.
Okay, I'm assuming there's no more comments from the board. Good. Hearing none, let's open up to the public.
I'm going to unmute anyone who's on here. I see phone numbers ending in 06 and also 97. Would you like to speak on this application? Phone numbers 06 or 97. Would you like to speak?
Sir, hold on a minute. Allie, I see Jillian on here. I don't know who's going to do it. Let's start by muting everybody.
I'm going to remute the two that I just unmuted because we're getting background noise from them. The only other person who's on here is Tova Perlman. I'll unmute her. Does Tova Perlman want to speak?
No. She's a new lines in play.
Oh, thank you. Jillian is on here. I gave her the rights to mute and unmute. I just wasn't sure. This one, we don't really have anyone else who wants to speak. I don't see any other new names on here.
An email on this.
Correct.
I got an email on this. I might as well read it.
Okay.
This is Soraya.
John, I can't hear you.
This is Shaka Soraya. I don't want to make that mistake again. Right. This says Mr. Auerbach lied on the record. And this is from orders person. It says Shargus does not rent out their basement for outside events. I have been there at several outside catered events, and it's signed Shlomo Stein.
The school is not meant for a hall. The school is not out for rent. If once or twice the school rents it out for bar mitzvahs, I have no control over that, but it's not designed, it is not decorated, there is no accommodations for outside events. You want to know, the same way you have a fire department can rent out their town hall for, does not mean it's made for rentals. The school
All right,
is not
Mr. Arabak,
designed.
we got the point. I mean, Mr. Flansbaum walks by there all the time. You've
It's a school.
indicated it's a school. Okay, we heard you. Thank you.
My last question, if we're done with the public hearing.
So if that, John, are there any other public comments via email? John, you're silent.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't. It says we were going to regroup and see if anybody else wanted to make verbal comments over this format. That was the only written one I have.
Okay, good. Fine. So with that, we will close the public session, and we will ask.
Mr. Chairman, this is Adam. Just to clarify, and sum it up, again, everything that's there today is existing. It's on site. We're not changing anything. We've given the justifications for the few existing variances that we're asking them to be reapproved. We agree to make some cosmetic improvements to spruce up the trailers so that picture is not what people see. And we are asking that these trailers, modulars, whatever you want to call them, be granted approval.
Like, I want to go back to item number K on the original resolution. Okay.
On the resolution or the report?
No, I think you're talking about the resolution from 2012.
If Ali can bring it up, because I don't have that in front of me.
Item number K mentions about a fence around the property. I don't know if that was done or not. I don't know if it's necessary, but at least let's discuss it.
I'd say bow back over here. Chaim, I appreciate the safety. We all have kids. We all want to make sure that everything here is safe. I can tell you one thing. We have a C of O back from 2005 or so. Don't hold me to that date. I don't want to be told that I'm flying on the oath or anything. We're here for 8-10 years already. If it's there, we can assume we complied with everything. If a fence came down, a fence came down. I don't know the answer to that question over here right now.
Where is this referring to? On the entire property?
Okay, this.
Oh, no. This was along the curb in front of this, right in front of the school. There's a large concrete area with it's so that if you see the line where Ali just drew, there was supposed to be 40-foot sections of fence with an opening, and then the buses would pull up and line up with the openings in the fence. So it kept the children on the walkway, behind the fence, and then there was a space large enough for them to walk through and get onto a bus, so that they were kind of corralled behind the fence.
I don't think there's no school in Lakewood that does that. Does there?
It was. I haven't been to the site in several years, I have to say. It was constructed originally. I would assume it's still there. It's a very good idea.
Again, guys, again, this is something that was there. If it came down through maintenance concerns, that's not something that I can go beat them up now about. It's not a mandatory a safety to have that. Most schools do not have that. It's a pretty innovative idea actually to have this, to keep the kids quote unquote safe with access to go out there. Maybe over years the school felt it was easier. Now I don't know. That's a fairly point from 11 years ago. So you don't feel like go back to the school and tell them, well, this came down 11 years ago. It's not around the whole property, Chaim. I just want to make sure you understand that. It's not around the entire property. It was
I
a
asked the question,
convenience
that's
that we had for access for the buses.
All I did was ask a question. Okay,
And I apologize if I came across harsh.
I'm used to it. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion, but I have a couple of items.
Please go, do it.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve this application with the condition that it'll pass a fire inspection, a building inspection, and whatever other inspection that it needs to. I guess they'll need a new inspection, not rely on the old one. If I can request that legally, I'm asking that. They have to cover the entire bottom of the trailers with a permanent, not a vinyl cover, something permanently, maybe a metal or something that can look normal.
We want them to be SNEIS, Abe. We want SNEIS trailers.
Very permanent sneeze.
Heartfelt.
We have to put some lighting on that open area where this, like, it used to be grass, now it's sand. That whole entire area.
Where's that?
Alley? If we can legally require that, if we don't have to, if we're not legally required to put there, but it looks like a dark area for evening.
Oh, the area near trailers 1 and 2 in the middle?
That open area. Is that lighting? Is that square light?
Chaim, there are lights there. Chaim, again, I'm not trying to be difficult. It's fully safe. No, it's fully lit up, Chaim. Believe me, we all want it to be lit. We all have kids. We all want the kids to be safe.
Good. And a pavement walkway from that entrance where it says number 1, existing building. Yeah, exactly. I was there today, and a bunch of Bochum were walking through this on the grass, on the sand. I can imagine when there's rain and what's going on over there, it can be an issue.
Chaim, but the last point actually is makes sense.
Okay. Chaim, first of all, you get Public Servant of the Day award for doing this much homework. So hats off to you. We have a motion for Mr. Sable. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Justin.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Garfield. You might be muted. Hold on just a moment. Let's see.
Yes.
There he is. Thank you, Mr. Garfield. Mr. Stern.
Yes.
Mr. Sable.
Yeah, I just want to add, under the steps, under the original building, there's also openings. Like, there's a crisscross, old broken wood. Just make it look nice. On the original pictures that I sent you, you can see what I'm referring to. Not just around the trailers, under that walkway, hallway, under that roof. Just to make it look a little decent and safer for the kids, not to run underneath and play and pick up balls and stuff from there.
No problem, Chaim.
Mr. Flansbaum.
Yes.
Mr. Renner stepped down. Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Thank you. That's 5 affirmative.
Thank you.
Is there nobody else?
No, I called on right?
Did you call everybody?
Hold on, we're getting an echo. Hold on. I called Mr. Garfield, Mr. Stern, Mr. Sable, Mr. Flansbaum, and Mr. Meyer. Thank you.
The motion passes. Thank you all. Mr. Auerbach, put some lipstick on the pig and make it pretty.
Absolutely, Mr. Stern. Well said.
We appreciate your time. Okay.
Mr. Stern, thank you for your time. We understand that you have somewhere to be.
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I do have to go. Mr. Renner, can you take over? Mr. Renner? Mr. Renner?
Go ahead, Ellie. I just unmuted you. I figured out how to do that.
So, do I have terrible echo?
No, you're good.
Sometimes.
Yeah, no, Ellie.
As long as you make a motion to approve, you hear it twice, it's fine.
Okay, so Mr. Renner, I'm handing the gavel over to you. Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Stern.
Take care, Mr. Stern.
Okay, let's move to the next application. Ally, do you want to call it out?
Yes, just a moment. I'll share the agenda again. This is SP 2423 for Adaris Base Yakov. It's a major site plan for a school on Lanes Mill Road.
How many board members do we have?
5.
Five. Okay.
If I can go through the relief, Chairman?
Sure.
All right, I'm beginning on page number 3 of our May 26th review. Ally just put on the screen. Starting with Roman numeral 1 under submission waivers. We have topo contours, floodplains and wetlands within 200 feet, man-made features within 200 feet, plans and profiles, and architectural plans. We support the waivers for hearing purposes for reasons stipulated in the letter.
Is there a motion and a second to accept the recommendation?
So moved by Justin.
I'll second it, it's Ellie. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chairman. I'm continuing on page 4 under Roman numeral 2 zoning. As indicated, it's in the R20 district. The project is a permitted use. Per review of the plans, no bulk variances appear to be required. There is relief required with respect to perimeter buffer. We have noted the applicant is proposing fencing along the perimeter of the track to compensate for the lack of horizontal buffer. Continuing on, relief is necessary for parking in the buffer itself. Continuing on to comment 4, we'll ask to get testimony as to whether proposed loading and unloading complies with the UDO or whether the applicant requires to get relief there as well. Then finally, under design waivers are one waiver is required with respect to driveway width proposed greater than 30 foot wide, and another waiver is required with respect to providing curb and sidewalk along the frontage of Lanes Mill Road. I believe that's all the relief.
Thank you. And who are the applicant professionals over here?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Adam Pfeffer, on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Chairman, I think right after you had signed off before, there was an issue on the last application that was meant to be on this one, where someone's raising a jurisdictional question. I just would like to put forward to Mr. Jackson that we feel we're comfortable with our notice and our application. We've noticed it's for a school. We will have all the proofs put on during the application from Mr. Flannery regarding what the uses what they are proposed to be.
What Mr. Zines raised in his letter is that he says there's a banquet hall, and he says the notice does not say that there's a banquet hall. And as a general proposition, a notice is supposed to apprise the public and the neighbors of what is going on. So the board, at the first instance, will have to make a determination of whether the notice sufficiently advises the neighbors that there's going to be a banquet hall. I don't know how what Mr. Pfeffer, if you could just give us an idea, or maybe one of your professionals can, how many square feet is the banquet hall, and in general, what types of events will you be doing there?
So again, I'll have Mr. Flannery sworn in, but just to be clear, it's a school that has a hall for its own use, and thereafter may rent out for other purposes. But if I can't have Brian Flannery, the engineer, will be able to, and Planner will be able to give the testimony.
All right, Mr. Flannery, please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony good before this board be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer and professional planner.
As it relates just to this threshold question, can you—
One second, John, one second. I'm sorry, just Mr. Renner, do you accept Mr. Flannery as an expert in the field?
I do, yes.
Thank you.
Just Mr. Flannery, the board's going to have to determine whether, the extent of the banquet hall, and if that's the type of thing that you go into notice. Could you tell us how many square feet it is, and what types of events will be there? Will it be catered outside? Will there be alcohol? And please just confine your comments to those issues. And then I'm going to ask the board if they want to hear more.
Well, the hall that's indicated in the basement, which is a room for the school would use it also. But the room that's designated as the hall is 12,000 square feet. The entire building footprint is 56,000 square feet. So we're talking about a 12,000 square foot room in a 56,000 square foot structure that's got 2 stories and a partial basement. So it's a small part of the building, and it's consistent with other rooms that schools use.
You're not answering my question though. How many? So 12,000 square foot for the facility. Will it be available for outside uses such as weddings?
It will be available for outside uses.
How many times a week do you think that'll happen?
Perhaps Mr. Auerbach could, if he's still around.
Maybe once, maybe multiple times, but it's not.
Well, I just want to get those answers. I want if it's 7 days a week or 5 days a week, I doubt it'll be 7.
I promise you, it's not 7 days a week.
Also not during Tefillah.
So Mr. Renner and the members of the board, there's been a question as a general rule, you're supposed to put all the different uses in. And the one case that was cited by Mr. Stein is, and I know of other cases like where, they don't say exactly what type of center it is. In my view, the cases are very erratic. In my view, if I were on the appellate division or on the Supreme Court, which I don't think is likely, I would say if the notice says a school, and schools customarily have banquet halls, and when you say school, that's enough. I have a feeling the appellate division on a banquet hall of 1,000 square feet and would host weddings or bar mitzvahs and operate like a lot of the schools have pretty substantial banquet operations. That's what it sounds like this is going to be. I would bet that they would want to see the notice specifically call that out. But on the first level, it's the board's decision whether you think notice is adequate to apprise the public. So I would ask the board to make that threshold determination before we go forward.
John, just on a legal side, I also think it's the applicant's decision if they want to move forward at their own risk.
I think it's more than that, Mr. Pfeffer, because I think the planning board is also the guardian of public interest, and it has to ask itself whether it's fair to a neighbor who might not understand what's going on in the school. I think in Lakewood it's pretty common, but if there were neighbors who live next to it who were not familiar with the nuances of this type of a school, because they were they weren't used to that type of a school. They wouldn't think that it's going to be a wedding hall where the parking lot's going to be overflowing 5 nights a week until 2 o'clock in the morning. And so the question is it fair to them? Did they get an idea of what's actually going there?
So, and I think that goes right to the crux of our engineering testimony and our planning testimony. I think once Brian's explaining, I believe we may address a lot of those concerns.
Okay, and I don't know whether, offhand, I don't know whether any of the other notices for any other schools that we've done specifically reference a banquet hall, but usually they try to quote that, so I doubt that they do. But Mr. Renard, I think the board has to make the threshold determination. I think you know what the issues are. You just have to call it one way or the other.
Okay. So I guess we should poll the board and see how they feel before we move forward. Is that what you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issues are pretty straightforward. Do you want that type of thing in the notice, or are you comfortable going forward with it because, like Mr. Flannery, I think, and like Mr. Auerbach said, it's a school. It's 12,000 square feet. Of course, they're going to have outside events there. That's part of the fabric of the school, and everyone knows it. So.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think is important to look at, it might be important. It might be part of the fabric of the school to have outside events. But there's a smaller scale and a larger scale. This looks like it's a wedding facility based on the plans that were just pulled up, and I don't know what happened when I was off. but there's a wedding facility is much larger and attracts much more traffic and people than a bar mitzvah hall, let's call it.
And again, Mr. Rock, we have traffic testimony available this evening. We have Mr. Flannery available this evening. We have all the testimony to put on. So you guys are jumping ahead and making answers without letting the applicant go forward with the.
Yeah, but the question is not is the application good or not. The question is whether you noticed correctly or not, and whether the board feels you noticed correctly. So why don't we do a roll call, Ally? Can you just run down and pull the board?
Absolutely. Mr. Garfield, how do you feel about the notice?
Can I abstain?
Sure. Mr. Sable, is the notice sufficient?
Can I see a copy of the notice?
Yes. I have the plans open and it's making nothing else open on my screen. Give me just a moment.
We had it before.
I know, but if I have too many PDFs open, the computer slows down too much, so I had to close a bunch of things.
Allie, I'll tell you what we see on our screen. We see, like, it looks like there's a ghost behind you flashing.
I mean, with respect to neighbors,
That's art.
total of 7 different ownerships. 4 of them are yeshiva, 1 is a county, so there's only 3 or 4 neighbors. I'm sure they know what's going on.
All the plans are online. Anybody can see it. Correct.
That was my comment.
Oh, well, sorry, Chaim.
Okay, I think I've got it. Thank you for your patience. Can you see that?
Yeah, I see that. Is there any objecting attorneys on this application?
Not that I'm aware of. I have 2 comments from individual neighbors that came in via email, but that's it.
Okay, I don't know if it's appropriate, but can we look at their comments now? Maybe it's in reference to maybe they're referencing this issue that we want to.
I don't see why not. Public comment number 1.
I think as a matter of logic, though, somebody might not have said it. Where there was going to be a banquet.
I didn't get to read it.
This comment does specifically.
I think it's the same comment from every time we were here.
Hey, please stop talking.
Sorry.
Okay.
It appears the comments are specific to that.
One suggestion that I may have is if the board is not comfortable after the roll call, would the applicant be interested in listening and hearing this as a school and then coming back to modify it at a later date for the.
Again, as I've asked before, I'd like to start our testimony and give our proofs and our justifications and go through Terry's report. As I indicated, we have Brian Flannery here to do engineering and planning. I have Scott Kennel here to address traffic. So you're asking me am I willing to go forward without asking for what I'm doing? And you guys haven't even heard the application yet. I would like to put some testimony on. Let's get going. Let's see what needs to come up.
Mr. Pfeffer, I'm sorry. We have an unrealized until now conflict with another board member, which means we only have 4 members at the moment who can sit on this application.
So we're gonna address it next meeting.
Have a good night.
Wait.
We will need to announce a carry. Our meeting next week, we do have quite a number of applications already. I mean,
So put it in 2 meetings, it's fine. We're not gonna get it, it's fine. Put it to 2 meetings in other schools. I know it's a fighting of the schools, so Abe, don't look at it. Every school's gonna fight each other.
It's all schools. Give me just a moment so that I can tell you what date is preferable.
Can you renotice for this one? It's a complicated issue.
It would have to go all the way to June 22nd in order to have time to provide new notice, I expect.
We're enemies doing it that way. I'm just trying to help.
Yeah, June 15th, I've got 5 large applications on. So it would have to be either June 8th next week, which only has 3 applications and a bunch of extensions, or June 22nd, which has just 3 regular applications.
We'll take the 22nd.
Okay.
Please.
Are you going to
I would.
I'm going to ask. Sorry, I'm going to ask that the announcement be made as being carried to the 22nd. I will speak with with my client to figure out if I'm going to renotice or not, and figure out how to address the concerns that have been raised. I'm just asking if we can make the announcement so that everyone who's here at least knows that it's on for the 22nd, and then I'll deal with the rest. If I renotice, I renotice.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask the 4 members on the board that do have a say on this to give their opinion if they have so please give their opinion so that next time around, if the applicant decides not to notice, they're put on the record's clear now how the 4 feel, whether they should notice or not. So could we just go through the 4 that don't have
Yes.
Since there's no quorum, that's not official. Really,
It's not official, but I'd like.
With you giving an advisory. I have no problem with you giving the view of the 4 members that are here. It's kind of like a committee.
Right. All right. So generally, when a school has a ballroom such as this, Mr. Sable, would you like that the notice specify that? Mr. Sable, are you still here? Yes, he is.
I say whatever the law requires to do, whatever needs to stay in the notice, they should stay in the notice.
Mr. Renner, what's your opinion?
I think that it should be renoticed. Not that I'm saying I'm not going to hear it if it's not, but I think that it should be renoticed.
Mr. Meyer, how do you feel?
Sorry, it's
What was that?
I don't think they should.
It's not working. Let's
Mr. Meyer does not think they should renotice. Okay. And Mr. Garfield, I had skipped over you. Do you have an opinion at this time?
Yes, should be renoticed.
Guys, can I ask a question? No, this is unofficial.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, somebody stop talking, please. I just want to be clear. Again, I'm just going to ask the board to make the announcement for the 22nd, and the applicant will make the decision if they're going to renotice. We hear the board's comments, and we'll take it to heart. Thank you.
All right. Can we please announce this?
For June 22nd, application SP 2423.
Members of the public, SP 2423 has been carried and will be heard on June 2nd, 2021, 6 o'clock under this virtual format. Notice
June
given.
June 22nd, John?
Please repeat the date.
June 22nd.
June 22nd, 2021 will be the new date. Notice may not be given, it may be given. That is to be determined. So if you're put on notice now, you can show up on that date and you may or may not get another letter in the mail and another notice in the newspaper. That is something the applicant will determine whether they're going to do. And And just Mr. Pfeffer, I mean, the board might decline jurisdiction on this basis, so you know what the issues are, and you'll be guided for it.
I fully understand and I appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right.
And we also waive our time. Just
Thank you, Mr. Pfeffer.
Great, thank you. We don't actually have any bills tonight, so we just have minutes left, and then we are finished.
A motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second timetable.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
And all in favor say aye. Okay, approvals are none. Motion to adjourn, I'll make that. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Take care, everybody. Good night.